Hi, everybody. I'm Dave.
I'm Brent.
And this is Faith Talk. So, it was something we were thinking about, we were discussing here a little while ago. Harkens back to a story from what was it, about a year and a half now? Almost 2 years now?
Yeah, I don't know.
As you know, Brent here has been running these obstacle course races. And they're 5 to 15 miles, depending on the one you go on, maybe 20 or more, depending on some of the bigger ones. And you go...
Haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, the Ultra Beast is coming eventually. But you go to an area, a venue of some sort, you hike through the mountains or the trails, you come to obstacles, maybe you got to pick up a boulder and move it, maybe you got to climb a wall, which this guy can climb a wall. Or my personal favorite, I got to tell you about this, is when you got to the rings, and I swear he's part monkey, and it was just like, boom, 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 done. Really? But, so my first obstacle course race was Tough Mudder, 2016, up at Whistler Olympic Park near Whistler, British Columbia.
Fair enough. I did warn you. It's actually one of the harder courses.
No, we told me that when we got up there. You told me ahead of time.
No, I warned you ahead of time.
I don't remember. But anyway, so we get up there, and it's about a 7-hour drive from here in Wenatchee. And I was terrified. I was literally going to say, nope, I'm done. I'm not going. I'm scared out of my mind. And
that was me, you, and Zeke, right?
It was you and I and Zeke.
Yeah.
Scared out of my mind.
I talked these guys into it for the sake of ACP, because I wanted the adventure to be able to tell the story.
Yeah, we did.
And use it at ACP for some of the lessons we learned.
And for those of you who were there, we told the entire story. Sorry we took so long on that Devo, but
yeah.
You know, it happens.
That was you.
Oh, you too. But so the entire way out of the truck, out of the parking lot to get to the starting gate of the event, I'm sitting there in my head.
A mile.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there in my head going, where is this place? Why am I doing this? This is dumb. I should be safe in my truck. I don't want to do this. A couple times during the event, I actually cried. But anyway, but it wasn't until I got to the starting gate where it was like, okay, this is put up or shut up. You're either going to go do this or you're not. And Sean Corvell, I'm not sure how to say the guy's last name. He's kind of the hype guy.
No, not
the hype guy. The MC, the motivational speaker. And he's sitting there saying
his job is to send people off into the race
and get you motivated. They had a guy before that. He was the hype guy, like, you know, stretch this way and do this. And we get to there, and Sean asks a question. He goes, "When's the last time you tried something new for the first time?" And we kind of talked about this idea of you know, what does it take to get us off our tails and get out there into the deeper water of life and spirituality and faith in Christ, and not just sit on the shoreline, like get out and swim.
Deep water is where you really learn things. You know, it's one of those things where you can learn some stuff in the shallows, but it's more of a intellectual knowledge at that point. It's not a heart knowledge. It's not something you know.
It's not practical.
It's not practical. It's not something that you internalize and live. And so you can get a lot of really, and don't get us wrong, there's a lot of really good things to be learned in the shallows, but you don't learn about yourself and you don't learn about where you fit, at least in my opinion, until you get into some deep water. Mm. And deep water is not always fun, right? I mean, you found out. Deep water hurts.
We started getting up these, I tell you, every single trail we were on was this, or this. There was none of this. It was this or this.
It's a mountain.
It was several mountains. We get to one point where I'm like talking to Zeke and Brent, and I'm like, no more uphill. And I'm literally bawling. And yeah, it hurts. There was it right before we got to the quagmire where I lost a shoe.
Yeah.
And
we had to dig it out of the mud.
And the shoe just got stuck in the mud. So I put one foot down, pull the foot up, and the shoe just pops off my foot. But the mud doesn't go into the shoe. It just sits there, creating a mold around the shoe. And I sit down. I haven't sat down the entire race. And I sit down and I try to reach for the shoe, and my body's like, nope, you're not doing it. So a lady comes by and she peels the shoe out of the mud, hands me the shoe, and Brent and Zeke, they're up ahead of me a little ways. They look around and I'm not there, and I'm like, I can't tie my shoe. I can't put my shoe on. I can't put my, because I was hurting that badly, and luckily they came back and put my shoe on, tied it for me. Like, thank you. Walked away. But yeah, sometimes being in the deep water stinks. It hurts. It's not fun to
The
go
deep
through.
water is scary. You know that. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons that people tend to say about the shoreline. We're using this. You know,
We're using metaphors here.
we're using metaphors here, guys, and hopefully you're following with us at this point. But the shoreline is safe. You know why I didn't join the Navy? So everybody asked me
I
because
did.
I'm a water guy. I love the water, and everybody asked me why I just didn't join the Navy and try and get into the Navy SEALs, because I would have loved that. So I went after Air Force, but I've had so many friends who know me because I'm a pool rat, dude. I am more comfortable in the water than I am on land. And everybody's like, well, why didn't you join the Navy? Well, A, my brother was in the Navy, and that was his adventure, and it was great for him. But I wanted to do my own thing. And B, I don't want to be out at sea. I have no desire. So one thing you will see in the Navy is the sea.
Well, yeah, it depends on the job. but
I am
yes, that's fair.
against being so far out into the ocean that all I can see is ocean and I can't see land. I like to be able to see the shore.
What's the big deal with that?
No, I like to be able to see the shore. So
I don't know, I see
that,
the
that,
shore.
that
I'm
was a
good
big
with
part of it for me, was that deep water without being able to see the shoreline physically scares me. Not
Okay,
anything
but see,
to do.
I gotta ask, why? Why does that scare you?
Because that's not our world.
Okay.
Man is dominant on all the dry parts of the planet.
Well, yeah,
But
not
when
the,
you get
not
out
the
to
wet
where
part.
there is no ground in sight,
Yeah, don't worry.
and it's hundreds to thousands of feet at the bottom, and there are things that can swallow you whole, and you are no longer the apex of the food chain, there comes the harsh reality that there are things that will make sure you never get home if you're on.
Oh yeah, no, that's I totally agree.
And that is, I'm a control freak.
But thank you for admitting that. You heard it here first, folks. But that's the same connotation we have in our youth groups, in our churches, in our Christian walk, is and again this is
Which
my
is part of why we're talking about this.
Yeah, is we don't scoot out from what we know is comfortable.
Right.
I know that not all of us are called to be inner city missionaries, but and we're not all called to be that. But all of us are called to help the poor, And maybe it's something where it goes beyond just because. This is where I get to have a little bit of a problem with myself sometimes. Is well, I'll just give money to that charity. I'll just give money to this or that or the other thing. But when it comes to actually making a connection with somebody, but we're presented with that opportunity, and sometimes we'll go, oh, I don't want to interface with those people, so I'll just donate money to the local shelter, which is good too.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. There's nothing wrong with
No.
donating money, because not everybody can go to Zimbabwe or Croatia or whatever and be a missionary. Not everybody is cut out to be an inner city missionary. I used to support one called Dry Bones Denver.
I remember.
Spectacular program. Not everybody is made to go do those things. So there's nothing wrong with giving money. But you are called to handle things at home.
You're all called to handle things yourself too.
And yourself. And you can't just disconnect and give money. You have to do something in your life.
Well, and this gets into our local congregations, and I'm not dissing on any congregation, but a lot of times what I've seen over the years has been, oh, we pay a preacher, we pay a youth minister, we pay a family minister, we pay a so-and-so minister.
Yeah, it's their job to go minister.
To do, and that's
why we pay them.
Even if somebody doesn't say that, it's kind of what happens, proof is in the pudding kind of thing. And that's not it. For example, a pulpit minister, regular preaching minister, they're called to equip the saints. They're called to help us be equipped to go out and do this work. It's not, I'll give you another example. If the youth minister has a family, or he's got a family emergency, or whatever, and the youth group's scheduled to go out of town to a camp or go out of town to a youth rally, it's our job as Christians to step up and say, okay, yeah, I'll take care of that. I'll help you get that done.
Yeah.
If little old lady Susie down the road needs her driveway plowed or sidewalks shoveled off during the last snowstorm, it's not the minister's job to figure out how to get that done. That's our job, to be interfaced with those people so much that we know that we should go get that done for them, or they could call us anytime to go do that. And there's this over dependence on somebody else will do that. Not whether they're paid or not. Somebody else's job. It's your job. It's my job. It's his job, because we're called to serve each other as a part of the body of Christ.
Deep water is a scary thing. We like to be comfortable in our churches, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being comfortable at your congregation. Your congregation is, like you said, the preacher's job is to equip the saints. His job is to encourage and re-empower and help feed those who have already chosen Jesus. Mm-hmm. Not to go out and minister to everybody else. His job is to minister to you, the already follower of Christ, so that you can go out into the world and minister. Right. In whatever way that God is calling you to minister. And God is calling everybody to minister in some form in their life. And no, you don't have to be able to preach. You don't have to be eloquent. I mean, look at us. We're not. You don't have to be talented. Look at me. I'm not. You don't have to be...
See, he didn't include me on that one.
The preacher. You don't have to be the song leader.
No, can I never be the song leader? Yeah. Please?
You don't have to be any of those things. You are called to minister in some way. And you have a way to minister. You have a story to tell. Mm-hmm. You have things that God has done in your life to go out and tell people about.
Absolutely.
And share with people. But deep water is scary, and we don't all like to go out there. But guys, deep water may be scary.
It's worth it.
But deep water is where you will really grow in your faith. Deep water is where you will really start to make an impact to the people around you.
There was a mentor of mine, Reed Smith, a guy that baptized me. And Reed, if you're watching this, God never called me to be comfortable. God called me to be obedient. And that's not, like Brenda said, that's not throwing out the idea of being comfortable in our churches. We should be able to feel okay with people around us, feel okay sitting in the pew, feel okay being in the building and it's not going to fall down around us. But that shouldn't be our focus. Our focus should be serving God and serving others, loving our neighbors as ourselves. And sometimes that means getting off the pew, getting out of the building, getting out of our house. Right now we're at my place, by the way. As white as weird as it is. Look, anyway, we're called to sometimes come out of those comfortable situations and get out into deeper water where it can get a little dangerous, or it can get a little uncomfortable.
Let's define deep water, because this is where some people are going to get lost in this whole discussion.
Sure.
Because deep water, my deep water, may not be the same as your deep water. Mm-hmm. And that is the truth about it, guys, mm-hmm. is for some people, deep water is exactly that. Deep water is, they can feel God's call in their heart to go do something, for lack of a better term, dramatic. Mm-hmm. Like sell off all their worldly positions and go into mission work. Mm-hmm. I've had friends that is, God moved them and put on their heart, and they gave up everything. They sold all their comfort. They left their home. They had a young child, and they left their family here in the United States, and picked up and left pulpit ministry, where he was very comfortable, to become a foreign missionary, mm-hmm. and moved his family to the other side of the world, because that's where he believed God was calling him. Now, that means that parents did not get to see their grandchild. They were not really supportive on this whole situation. And so he had family members who were trying to talk him out of this. Because, guys, when you head into deep water, it's not always going to be popular.
No.
Not even the people who you believe love you, and they do love you. But not even with the people who love you, who are part of your inner circle or your support system, are always going to agree with you going into deep water. Because deep water is scary, and they know it. Mm-hmm. And they're scared for you. And that will make them actually move to keep you in that protected zone. Right. Deep water for you may not be that. Deep water for you might be being courageous enough to talk to that kid at school that nobody else talks to, or that nobody likes. Because that's your reputation. That's your person at school who now is at risk as you go and be a friend to this person who doesn't have a friend. And maybe that's deep water for you guys. Maybe deep water for you guys is telling your friends, I can't do this weekend because I'm going to this youth rally. No, I know the team has a game, but my faith is more important than that, and I need to go be at this youth rally. And having to tell your friends you're not going to go do this with them, or you're not going to be at the game where you're supposed to be playing, or tell your coach you can't make that game. And guys, I know how hard that is. I was an athlete in high school, believe it or not. It doesn't look like it. But I was an athlete in high school, and I had to make those choices sometimes. And it cost me a letter at one point. So, I understand, guys. Deep water is very different. For Dave, deep water was walking out onto that course. That was terrifying for him. That took him way out of his comfort zone.
Well, before that, in my Christian walk, deep water was youth ministry. Before I was a Christian, I thought kids were kind of annoying, and I just didn't have any. Little kids were fine, but teenagers, I could never talk to a teenager before I was a youth minister, before I became a Christian, because it wasn't something I was comfortable with. Because how am I going to relate to these guys? And don't take that as an insult. That was just where I was at in my in my walk toward Christ. When I became a Christian, it's like, I remember going to my first youth rally before I was a Christian, and as people were starting to talk to me about, at my very first youth rally wasn't Apple Cider Press. It was actually the Valley Rally in 1998. My first cider press was 1999, and I was the chief of security at Cider Press 1999. And I got, which is now part of your job, and by the way, you're welcome. But and I just started having this change of heart, like, wow, I can actually relate to these guys. Holy cow, I can talk to these people. That's amazing. Became a Christian. Well, less than a year later, became a youth minister, and it was like just the whole door opened up of, wow, this is not something I was comfortable with before, but now I can relate and I can talk and.
Like
Wow,
I said,
that's
not
cool.
everybody's deep water is the same thing.
No.
And this is exactly what we're talking about. Me jumping into doing these Tough Mudder races,
Well, for you, it was easy. You're like, I want to go do it.
for me, it was a jump in joy, dude. I was like freaking out. Everybody I work with is like, you're going to go do that? It's like, yeah. Well, when is it?
People in my
It's in
work,
6 weeks.
people
And
in
they're
my
like-
work still tell me I'm crazy.
And he looked at me and he's like, wait, you want me to, because I invited him to the first one I went to.
I'm like,
he's
nope.
like, 6 weeks away? That's impossible.
You're on
I was
medication.
like, I'm going.
Bye.
And I was so excited and had so much fun, and just, to me, it looked like a giant playground. And working with teenagers and youth, that came very naturally to me. I'm a former youth minister, as a lot of you know. Some of you who are now chaperones remember that, were kids in my group at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, that's always fun to see.
Sorry about that.
But working with youth was very natural and very easy for me. That was not uncomfortable. Actually, for me,
What was uncomfortable?
part of that was, it was uncomfortable how comfortable that was to me. I actually tried to run away from becoming a minister because I was uncomfortable with the fact that I was that comfortable with it.
Well, you were a minister's kid and all of that.
Yeah, I didn't want to be my dad.
What was
but,
something that was uncomfortable for you then? In your walk with Christ, we already determined the stuff that was comfortable for you.
uncomfortable for me is...
We may have to come back to this.
Yeah, we're going to have to get back. Honestly, uncomfortable for me is being at a lot of churches, because my dad is very well known inside the Churches of Christ, and so anywhere I go, is people know me
Well, that's
as
him.
Dave's kid. Well, they know me because I'm Dave's kid. They may have no idea who I am, but I look
know you as
enough like
Dave's
my
kids.
father that it doesn't matter where I go in this country. And guys, I've traveled a lot, and the amount of people who be like, "Are you related to that Dowling guy?" Yes, I am. I'm the youngest of those Dowling guys. So, and that's very uncomfortable for me because I'm a
Yeah, but
very
is that your deep water though?
well.
I mean,
I'm a very private person.
oh yeah.
I don't socialize much. I hang out with Dave, and I hang out with like one other person, Jesse, that you guys have met at ACP. That's about it. I don't have a lot of friends. I hang out with 2 people. I hang out with Zeke every now and then, but I don't like groups, and I don't like crowds, and I like just my own little pocket of the world, and so being in groups is really deep water for me. Having to talk to groups of people
Is deep water for you.
is deep water for me. I'm very comfortable speaking to large groups, but physically being in a group is, I don't like late night Devo sessions. Really hard for me because everybody groups up really tight. To me, that is just tremendously uncomfortable. And I love being there, but I like to be on the outside of that circle. Right. Because being around people makes me uncomfortable. I have my own little quiet world, and that's where I like to be. And so deep water for me has always been trying to do group things with other believers. Church potlucks make me uncomfortable. It's
free food. What the heck?
I don't. It makes me there's too much free flow of people. It makes me very uncomfortable physically. So I like a very controlled environment where I know what's going, and there's an entrance and an exit, and people flow this way, and I really am uncomfortable with crowds.
So what you're saying is any church potluck you're in charge of will be very formatted and go one direction.
Yeah. And usually, like at a congregation, I'm in the very back.
Yeah. Usually
standing in the very back, and I'm out very quickly. And it's deep water for me because I don't like to talk to other Christians at church because it forces me into a group scenario, and I don't. That's uncomfortable for me. I love like one-on-one conversations. I have a friend who's a preacher, and him and I sit down and have lunch periodically, and I love those lunches. I love one-on-one, but I'm not comfortable in a tight group where it's kind of a free-for-all. So it makes it really hard to spend time with other Christians for me.
Makes sense.
Weird as that sounds. We all know I'm a freak now.
As you can tell, there's some deep water for even us. So my challenge, from me personally, is find where your deep water is. Get off the shoreline.
Get out of the boat.
Get out of the boat. And
let us sum it up with this one. How's that? So in the New Testament, we read that Jesus had the disciples go out to sea, right?
Yeah.
And Jesus stayed behind to pray, and the disciples are out on the sea, and here comes this big old storm. The disciples are freaking out because they know how that ends usually at that time period in history. And Jesus comes out walking on the water, right? What is Peter's reaction? If it's you,
call to me and I will come to you.
Let me come out of the boat onto the water to you.
Yep.
And Jesus says, okay. And as long as Peter stays focused on Jesus,
he kept walking.
He made it until he started to look away from it.
And then,
guys, get out of the boat. Get into the deep water.
And keep your focus on Christ.
And, if you're familiar with the rest of that story, Jesus was right there. The minute Peter started to sink, Jesus was right there.
Yep.
Guys, keep your eyes focused. Get into the deep water and see what God will let you do to grow. Comment below. Tell us what your deep water is. And tell us, how you think you're going to overcome it or get out into the deep water. Deep water is deep subjects. There is so much more to it. We could talk for hours on this.
We already talked for a while anyway.
That's not as long as you think.
Yeah, well.
Guys, comment below. Tell us what your deep water is. Tell us some other topics you want to hear us talk about. I'm Brent.
This is Dave.
This has been another Faith Talk.
Peace. We out.
Peace. We out!